Andrej Stojakovic is close to making a decision, and the Tar Heels are in his final three. Let me tell you why Carolina is going to be the move.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Monday, April 28th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listener watch to get your Monday and your week started the right way. Special shout out to all of you everydayers who are here with us, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course, our great Locked On Tar Heels insiders as well. It's great to be together. This episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox, no console needed. Head to amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. Coming up on the show today, I first want to remind you that Jae'lyn Young, the transfer for Virginia Tech, kind of out of the blue committed to Carolina on Friday. We're not going to talk about that much today. We will look at him a little bit more tomorrow, but if you really want to hear about it, go back and listen. We did a live show Friday afternoon, and you can catch that on YouTube. I also put it in the audio feed as well, so go check that out. You know what? I'll link it right here on YouTube for anyone watching. This weekend, though, we had the NFL draft, had a first rounder, and nothing else. Now, some big things happened in Carolina athletics this weekend. Big stuff, including an ACC championship. We're going to talk about all that in the weekend whip around. But first things first, the Carolina Tar Heels have a wing to land to replace Drake Powell. So we got to talk about who it is. We've been doing this a lot lately, right? Because once Drake went out, I had already been doing some shows of like, okay, Carolina needs to cover their butts in case Drake leaves. And so here's some prospects to look at for that. We had already talked about Andrej Stojakovic, and now that train has continued to move down the tracks. And Sunday, we got some real good movement with that because Stojakovic on his Instagram story announced two different things. Number one, that he is definitively not going back to Cal, which I guess I kind of assumed was already the case, but hey, now we know it for sure. And then also posted on his story on Instagram that he had cut his list to a final three. John Rothstein also reported this on Twitter, so got the double confirmation from the horse's mouth and from one of the voices of college basketball. And so obviously you can take that to the bank. But that final three was Illinois, not surprising, because that he had visited them, didn't commit, but had been there last week. North Carolina, great news there. And one that I did not think would be on this list, which is Stanford, which is where he started his college basketball career before transferring to Cal last year. And so a potential going back to what is now an ACC school in Stanford. So that's the final three for Andrej Stojakovic. Again, kind of shocked to hear Stanford on that list because there had been multiple other schools in the mix that I thought were like, man, it's going to be tough for Carolina to fight all those off. But this is the three. Now, here's the other thing. Stojakovic didn't say this, but in John Rothstein's tweet about it, he said, quote, a final decision is expected this week. With that in mind, then, here's what I want to do is speculate where that landing spot will be. Let me take you back. Maybe you went through and read what he posted on Instagram about not going back to Cal. I'm not going to read that in its entirety, but I do want to read you the last paragraph because I think it is somewhat instructive in ruling one of these three schools out, and I'll tell you what I mean. So here's what he said, quote, with that said, I've made the difficult decision to say goodbye. And this is written to the Cal family, by the way. I believe this is the necessary step for me in my development as a player as I pursue my dream of reaching the next level, end quote. And I highlight that because here's what I want to say. Step for me in my development as a player as I pursue my dream of reaching the next level, which is interesting because obviously he's following in his father's footsteps, who knows a good deal about being successful at that next level. Page of one of the, great shooters in NBA history. And so in my mind, based on what he knows, based on what his dad knows, if he's really focused in on, hey, where I'm going next is somewhere that can help me pursue my dream of reaching the next level, there's no way in my mind that he's going back to Stanford. With all due respect to the Cardinal, that rules them out. Like if he had said, as I pursue my dream of, being a really smart guy who gets a job in the tech industry or something, then I would say, you know what? He's probably not coming to Carolina. He's not going to Illinois. He's probably going to Stanford. But that's not what he said. He said, as I pursue my dream of reaching the next level. You know what that means? Sorry about you, Cardinal. You're out of the game. That's not the place you go to get to the next level. At least not right now. So to me, then that means that in fact, it comes down to Carolina or Illinois. Now, I'm not saying, look, he can make his decision and go to Stanford, and that's great. I'm just saying, based on what he said, he ain't going back to Stanford, man. Come on. So it's Carolina or Illinois. And we were talking about this some in the Locked On Tar Heels Discord on Sunday, and I thought Harpoon said it really well. Said, quote, the longer this goes on, the more I like our chances, end quote. And I wanted to shout out Harpoon because I'm right with that, and I thought that was so well said. Illinois has been the perceived frontrunner for Andrej Stojakovic. It was kind of like, remember when Carolina was thinking about Cannon Catchings just before that dead period, and he was on a visit to Georgia, and it was like, if we can get him out of Athens without committing to Georgia, and if we can get him through that dead week without him committing to Georgia, then we feel like we got a shot. Now, it ended up being like Jae'lyn Stevenson enters, like we want Jae'lyn Stevenson more than we want Cannon Catchings, and so they got that. But it's the same kind of thing. He went on that Illinois visit, Andrej Stojakovic didn't commit, and still hasn't committed. And you might say, well, Isaac, Henry Vasar came to Carolina, went home to Arizona, didn't commit. Yeah, but it was like 2 days later, right? It was really quick. For Stojakovic now, it's essentially been a week since he got home from Illinois and nothing. Now, obviously, he's not come on a visit to Carolina, but the consensus has been, the thought has been that he wouldn't need to come to campus for that because there was all the conversation last offseason, and I think that sets Carolina up really well. So the fact that he went to Illinois and left without making a commitment and is yet to do so, checkbox in Carolina's favor, in my humble opinion. Why else do I believe Carolina over Illinois? We've already rolled out Stanford. Let me tell you why I think the Tar Heels over the Illini. Number one, there was already that prior relationship from last year. I know ultimately he stayed out in the Bay Area and went to Cal, but I really felt last offseason like it was close. I don't know what it was, but I really thought Carolina had a good shot at landing Stojakovic. They didn't, and that's fine, whatever. But because of that pre-existing relationship, that kind of like, it's almost like a company that you want to go work for, that you've had conversations with their hiring people, their HR, or maybe it's like that guy or girl that you wanted to date and you had talks in the past, but it just wasn't the right time. But then you end up dating when it is the right time. It's like that. There's been some groundwork laid in the past that sets this up well. So I think that is a check mark in Carolina's favor. Now, when you look at Illinois' roster, it's funny. People have talked a lot about this. It looks like right now, Illinois has 3 players that are probably going to be in their starting lineup that all have one of those European ending surnames that are IC, that itch sound. You've got both Ivicic brothers. Tomislav Ivicic was at Illinois this past year. And then Zvonimir, his brother, who was started at Kentucky, went with Coach Cal to Arkansas, has now transferred to Illinois. So you got both of them. And then Mihailo Petrovic is also there, and I think he'll be their starting 2-guard. So yes, if Stojakovic went there, he would be their 4th itch in their starting lineup. And I get that might be a pull. But when I look at the role and the opportunity at Carolina, it is so clearly defined for what role he would play that he could basically step in, and Carolina says, look, you are this missing offensive piece that we need to do really, really well. And we think, yes, we know your 3-point shooting hasn't been in college what you probably thought it would be, but because of the talent we'll surround you with, you can come to Carolina and do that. We already feel like we're a better team than Illinois, and you're that missing piece to come in and play that 3 and do that. I mean, that's a sales pitch. I don't know that I could ignore it if I'm him or the Stojakovic family. And then also there's the factor of, I know he went to Stanford a year after Harrison Ingram left to come to Chapel Hill, but hey, there is a recent Stanford player who was good, but his numbers could have been better. And he came to Chapel Hill and his numbers blew up and he got drafted. That's a selling point to me as well. And so for those multiple reasons, I really feel like Carolina is the move here. Now, of course, it's recruiting and who knows all the various factors at play, right? And so he could come out and say Stanford or Illinois. But I really feel like Carolina is in a good spot with this thing and could very well be the play. But we got to wait and see. That's just, again, the nature of recruiting. And I've still got more targets, more names that I want to talk about. For example, on tomorrow's show, if there hasn't already been news from Stojakovic in the positive committing to Carolina, we're going to lead the show talking about Auburn transferred Chad Baker-Mazara, who I think would be phenomenal as Carolina's starting three if it's not Stojakovic, right? So we're going to explore that. Also, I know there's been a lot of consternation. I talked about Jae'lyn Young and his commitment earlier in the overview, the Virginia Tech player that transferred to Carolina over the weekend or announced his commitment to Carolina over the weekend. That's a lot of people have freaked out like, oh no, does this mean that Carolina is out on any of like Stojakovic or anyone else who might come play the three? Not at all. Two completely different situations. And we're going to talk more about Jae'lyn Young tomorrow in that second segment after Chad Baker-Mazara. So stay tuned for that. But just trust me for now, or go listen to that show we did Friday. These things are mutually exclusive. One does not affect the other in terms of Young and Stojakovic. So don't worry about that. Now, let's switch from basketball to football, where Omarion Hampton got drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, and then no other Tar Heels followed suit. So I'll update you on where all the undrafted free agents have signed, and we'll kind of think about like, hey, what do we got to do to get more guys into the draft? Because that's going to be a selling point for Bill Belichick and staff. We'll get to that in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, the NBA playoffs are here and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, if that bet wins, you're going to get $250 in bonus bets. I love how FanDuel makes this opportunity really accessible. So whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props like three-pointers, steals, assists, blocks, whatever it may be, FanDuel has so many ways to get in on your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, the opportunity is not done. You can combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance at an even bigger win. How about let's look at the lines for tonight's NBA playoff games. We got Cavs at Heat. The Cavs are favored by 8.5. They're trying to sweep this thing. They're up 3-0 right now. And then the Rockets at the Warriors out on the West Coast with the Dubs favored by 3.5, looking to take a commanding 3-1 series lead themselves. Go check it out with all of that. And don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com right now and claim your opportunity for $250 in bonus bets. The NFL draft is come and gone, and Shedeur Sanders is headed to Cleveland. Boy, that was a thing, right? And look, we talked about it on Friday's show, but Omarion Hampton was drafted Thursday night in the first round, as we expected. We mentioned it briefly on Friday's show, but I want to talk about it a little bit more here today. He was drafted 22nd overall by the Los Angeles Chargers. Following Natron Means, pretty cool Carolina running back connection. He was a Charger for 5 years himself. Cool stuff there. Honestly, Thursday night, I really thought Omarion was going to go 2 picks earlier to the Broncos, who are in kind of desperate need of some pop at running back. And I thought, Denver, it's a place that loves running backs typically, and it just made sense. But they don't take him, and he ends up going 2 picks later to LA, to the Chargers. I guess I can't just say LA Chargers over the Rams there. And so speaking of which, obviously the Chargers and the Broncos are division rivals there. So I hope he runs wild when he plays the Broncos soon. Anyway, Hampton is Carolina's 26th all-time first round draft pick. Cool stuff there. As I've thought about this over the weekend, when I think of Jim Harbaugh teams and how running backs are featured in the offense and like bell cow running backs like an Omarion Hampton, who is truly 3 down, who can pass pro, who can block, who can catch, who can make defenders bounce off of. I mean, it just makes a ton of sense to me that I think this is going to be a great landing spot for him. I think he's going to absolutely kill it. Now, one thing you do need to keep in mind is that the Chargers signed Najee Harris, who had been at Pittsburgh last couple years, but he's a different type running back than Omarion is. I think Omarion is more of a legit 3-down bell cow back. And I think Omarion has a great chance to be RB1 sooner rather than later. But I do think it's they complement each other well. And so I think that could be good for both players, right? Save your legs a little bit, but really help the offense and give both guys chances to showcase things, and they'll both get opportunities. And so I think that's good. And Omarion will have a chance to learn from a vet, which is also good because, I mean, he's just a guy that wants to win, right? We say this all the time. That's what Omarion Hampton is all about. And so, yes, he wants to tote the rock as much as possible, but he's not going to be concerned about Najee Harris. He's like, good, let me learn. Let me sit here and find things out. And so I think that's going to be really neat. Here's the problem with what happened, not just Thursday, where Omarion Hampton was the only Tar Heels who heard his name called, but no Tar Heel heard their name called Friday in the second or third round, nor Saturday in rounds 4 through 7. And this is the first time, going back to the 2019 draft was the last time it happened, that just one Tar Heel was drafted. Now there's plenty of UDFAs. We'll talk about that in just a second, but I don't like that. You know, you see these top end SEC and Big Ten schools, and even some of the top flight ACC schools, who just have hordes of players drafted year after year after year. And I'm hopeful with all the talent that Coach Belichick is attracting both in the transfer portal and out of the high school ranks, that we can change some of that. Because, I mean, there truly is something to student athletes, whether transfer portal guys or guys coming out of high school, seeing guys from your school being drafted. That matters. And so that's part of this thing. And I think it'll help. Now, obviously, and we'll need to get around to this, there's been a bunch of dudes leaving in the transfer portal. And so we'll have to see what that's ultimately going to mean. But Bill Belichick needs to get more players into the NFL draft. I think that would just be critically helpful for Carolina's success in both the short and long term. Speaking of Coach Belichick, just as a quick aside, did you see this whole thing with the interview he was doing and his girlfriend Jordan stepped in and is like shutting down questions? I don't know what something's weird with that relationship and what's going. I don't know, man. I can't figure it out, and I don't know any of the inside on it, so I'm not even going to begin to speculate. Now, all of that said, several Tar Heels have been signed as undrafted free agents, so I just want to list those off really quick to celebrate those guys and their careers. Nate McCollum, wide receiver, is off to the New York Giants. John Copenhaver and J.J. Jones are both, John Copenhaver, tight end, J.J. Jones, wide receiver, both off to Jacksonville. Good stuff. They're always nice to have a teammate along with you. And, you know, there's been the whole conversation about J.J. trying to get that extra year of eligibility. So it sounds like that then is probably done and over. Sticking with receivers, Bryson Nesbitt, tight end, signs with the Vikings. Elijah Huzzy, obviously injured a bit right now. I think, you know, I said only one Tar Heel drafted. Were he not injured, and there's no way to know, I wouldn't have been surprised if Huzzy got drafted. But anyway, he's off to the Texans, signed as a UDFA with them. Sticking on that defensive side of the ball, Power Eccles, linebacker, signs with the Bears. Hope, you know, Bears, man, just so well known for their linebackers. That'd be cool if he could really find a home there, if he could stick. Would love to see it. And then flipping back to the other side of the ball, Willie Lampkin, you know, diminutive offensive lineman, but one of the highest graded linemen in the entire country last season. Would just be cool to see him be able to do it at the NFL level. He signs with LA, but the other LA from Omarion Hampton, he'll be playing for the Rams. So maybe those guys can still get together and hang out in La La Land. That'd be pretty cool there. Now, as I record this on Sunday evening, it's about just shy of 11:30 Eastern time, 11:30 p.m. Eastern time, I should say. There's a couple guys that haven't signed that I figured probably would. And I think it's just a matter of time. But the Butcher, Kamen Rucker, hasn't, at least nothing public has been made about him signing as a UDFA, nor Javari Ritzy. I thought the same for him. And I'm sure there's other guys, but those two in particular stood out to me. Also, just really quick, the whole Shedeur Sanders thing was nuts, man. Him tumbling like he did, the whole thing with the prank call and it getting out that it was the Falcons defensive coordinator's son. Like, man, I just like him or hate him, whatever with the Sanders family. That's just not cool, man. Like we got to be better than that as humans. Like just stop and think, man. This is this kid, like one of the coolest moments in his entire life, despite the fact that he slid in the draft. And you're out here doing like, nah, man, that ain't it. We got to be better than that. Let's hold each other accountable to being better humans than that. Now, have I messed up in my life? Gajillion times. I've done boneheaded things, but I've always been appreciative because people have held me to a higher standard, and it helps me to make better decisions and become more mature every day. And so hopefully that'll be true for him. And so good luck to Shedeur in Cleveland. Well, I'm here for the circus of it all, right? Now, let's go back to Carolina. A fun weekend in Carolina athletics. The Diamond Heels win another series. Softball sweeps their regular season series finale. Women's lacrosse ACC champs, and men's golf has a shot at grabbing another ACC championship today. We'll get to all of that in just a second. Right after I tell you about Game Time, there's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment, it feels huge, man. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can go be part of that in person without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get NBA playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high. And what's cool is prices on the app actually go down as we get closer to tip-off. And the last-minute ticket deals with Game Time can save you up to 60%. Here's why I like it. It's not just 60% on sports, but you can do that for concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. They're all-in pricing. You can just toggle that on. Means you get no surprise fees at checkout. You see exactly what you're going to pay when you select the tickets you want. Speaking of tickets going down the closer you get to Game Time, let me tell you about the two NBA games tonight. Rockets at Warriors. This one's a little bit more expensive. The cheapest get-in price for this is $191 for Game 4. Again, Warriors up 2-1. But Cavs at Heat, holy goodness, this is crazy. Again, Cavs trying to close this thing out in Miami. They're up 3-0 right now. You can get in the door for $21 for an NBA game, an NBA playoff game. That's great. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Let me run you through all the great action that was happening in Carolina athletics this weekend because, man, good things are afoot right now. Baseball, number 8 in the nation. They were at Pittsburgh, who's not a great team, at the bottom end of the ACC. And my hope going in was that Carolina would sweep because they got two massive ACC series to wrap the regular season ahead in the next 2 weekends. They didn't get the sweep, but they did win the series, taking themselves now to having won 6 straight ACC series after dropping the first 2. It's really good stuff. Friday, it was a home run barrage. The Tar Heels win 15-5. They hit 7 of them, 7 home runs. I loved it. The Go Heels article recapping the game called them the Bosch Bombers. I'm here for that. Gavin Gallagher hits 3 of them. Stevenson gets 2 of his own. Madera got his first of the year. Great stuff. The Tar Heels score in every inning except the 3rd and the 6th. And they got 9 runs across the final 3 innings. Really good stuff. Jake Knapp moves to 9-0 on the season. Man, Carolina's pitching staff doing great. Saturday, the Bats couldn't get going again. The defense and the pitching did their job, holding Pitt to just 4 runs, but Carolina could only push 2 across, 2 more solo shots, but that was it. Gallagher again, Gavin, my goodness, and Bass got the other. But problem is Carolina, they had some shots, but grounded into 3 double plays. I mean, that's brutal. Sunday, though, Carolina wins the series with a 6-0 shutout. It was their 3rd shutout of ACC play, 4th this year overall. It was interesting. Both offenses were held in check through the first 5 innings. Carolina had just one hit, but then they opened it up in the 6th through 8th innings where they scored all 6 of their runs, had 7 hits. Pitt had a few miscues, and Carolina took advantage, had some timely hits as well. Here was the thing. Pitt was throwing a bullpen game, and I'm always wary of those games because, yes, maybe the first 2 guys, maybe even first 3 guys out of the pen do a job. But the more guys you bring into the game, the more likelihood that somebody's off and the other team can take advantage of it. And that's ultimately what happened. Carolina was able to get to guys later out of the bullpen. But meanwhile, good grief, Jason DeCaro, have yourself a day. 0 runs through 7 innings allowed. Got out. Really, the only jam he faced was in the 5th inning. Got out of a bases loaded 1-out jam, thanks to Mr. Bass himself. With 1 out, fly ball out to right field. Obviously makes the catch and is able to gun down the Pitt Panther trying to tag and get home from third to end the threat. Great stuff there. And in fact, that was the only runner that got to third on the day against DeCaro. Really, really good stuff from him. Lynch comes in to finish off the game after that. Gets things done in the 8th. He came in, got a strikeout and a nice 4-6-3 double play after DeCaro had hit the first batter of the inning and had exited. And then they take care of stuff in the 9th. Let's move to and by the way, Carolina will host NC State next weekend. That's big time. The Wolfpack just got a big sweep this weekend against Clemson, I think it was, who's number 2 in the nation. That's crazy. So Carolina got work on their hands, and then they got to finish the regular season down at FSU. Tough there. Softball ends their regular season this weekend with a sweep up in South Bend, beating Notre Dame 9-1, 2-1, and 3-1. Irish couldn't muster more than a run in any of those games. Carolina finishes the regular season 39-14, 15-9 in ACC play. Now they await the ACC tournament, which starts Wednesday, May 7th. That's not this Wednesday, but like a week and a half from now. There's still some games to be played to iron out the seeding and the bracketing, but Carolina is going to be somewhere from the 4 to the 6 seed. So just keep your eyes on that. Women's tennis, no action this weekend, but I did want to let you know that the selection show for the NCAA tournament is today at 5 p.m. Eastern. As a reminder, the NCAA changed things where the singles and doubles NCAA championships already happened. So this is just going to be the team championships. Things will start next weekend. Be on the lookout for that. All right, let's get to women's lacrosse. Oh my goodness, these ladies are insane. In the quarterfinal last week, they beat Virginia Tech. In the ACC quarterfinal, beat Virginia Tech 19-9. On Friday, knocked off Clemson. They were up 10-2 at the half and held on to win 17-7. And that sets up the one that matters, the only one that everyone cares about. The championship, of course, on Sunday was against Boston College, who Carolina beat 12-11 in the regular season. And unless something weird happens, this is a preview of the national championship too, where these 2 squads are by far the 2 best teams in the entire nation. And so we get round 2 of it in the ACC championship. And yet again, Carolina bests Boston College in a crazy game, finishes at 14-12. This is Carolina's 8th tournament championship, meaning Carolina won both the ACC regular season and ACC tournament championships. First quarter, tied at 5 after. I mean, it was a crazy back and forth. Carolina builds a 7-5 lead in the second quarter. BC ties it back up. We're at 7 going into halftime. I mean, this is how close this thing was the whole time. Carolina gets the first goal of the third quarter out of halftime, but BC gets the final 2 of the quarter to take a 9-8 lead going into the fourth. Carolina knots it up early in the fourth quarter, but then Boston College reels off 2 goals. And I'm like, man, this is not looking good. But get this. Carolina goes on a 4-0 run to go up 13-11, capped by an insane run-out goal from Kate Levy with around 3:45 to go. Each team tacks on 1 more goal for Carolina to win the championship 14-12. Great stuff for the ladies who stay undefeated. I mean, this is a great, great, great year. Selection show for women's lacrosse next Sunday, May 4th. The guys aren't quite there yet. They were at Syracuse on Saturday to end their regular season. Won, same score, 14-12. They finished the regular season 10-3, 3-1 in ACC play. They are the 2 seed in the ACC. Will play Duke in the semis on Friday at 8 p.m. on ACC Network. The other semi is number 1 Notre Dame against number 4 Syracuse. Championship then will be next Sunday at noon on ACC Network. Men's golf. This is where we wrap the show today. ACC championships And if you're not familiar with championships in golf, it's crazy, both at the conference and national level. So basically what happens is you have 3 rounds of match play, of stroke play, where your team is trying to get the lowest score across 3 rounds of golf with all your scores. Carolina finishes stroke play as the 2 seed at -10, behind only Virginia, who finished at like -16 or 18. I think it was 18. Good stuff there. So that then moves into Sunday, yesterday, where the top 8 teams from stroke play advance, and they just match play. So started with quarterfinals, where it was Virginia against Georgia Tech, Carolina as the 2 seed against Wake, Florida State as the 3 seed against Cal, and Clemson as the 4 seed against SMU. All 4 of the top seeds won. Love that. You want the better teams to advance. Then in the semifinals, also played Sunday, Virginia beats Clemson barely. I mean, the first 4 matches, you have 5 golfers and they just play head to head, and who wins holes, right? If I win hole 1, I'm up 1. If I win hole 2, I'm now up 2. If you win hole 3, I'm up 1, like that, until you finish a round or mathematically somebody can't come back to beat the other. So Virginia Clemson split the first 4, and then the 5th one goes to a 3rd playoff hole before Virginia ekes it out as the sun is setting. On the Carolina side, Carolina and Florida State are in the semifinal there. The Tar Heels are up 2 matches to 1, but 4 and 5 both go to playoff. Carolina really thought was going to win it because at 5 we're up 2 with 2 holes to play, but Florida State won each of those. But it didn't matter because Keaton Vo at the 4 slot got a clinched the playoff hole on the first playoff hole. So Carolina advances to today's ACC championship against Virginia, 1 versus 2. That's what you want. 11 a.m. Eastern time today. Buckle up. Go Tar Heels. Let's get it. All right, gang, I'm tossing my baseball behind me. That's it to kick off a brand new week of Locked On Tar Heels. Thanks so much for being here. Congrats to all the great Tar Heel action over the weekend. Let's get another ACC championship today. Can't wait for that action. Stay with us all week long. Again, Andrej Stojakovic news expected this week. Unless there's that by tomorrow, we're going to lead the show talking about Chad Baker-Mazara, who I think could be a great fit at the 3 for Carolina in a multitude of ways. We'll talk about that. If you've not subscribed to the show on video and audio, make sure you do that right now so you don't miss a second. It's so easy to hit that subscribe button on YouTube or hit subscribe on your favorite audio platform. If you haven't joined Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to have you there. A group of over 500 Tar Heels who are hanging out, talking all the time. That link is in the show notes. Maybe you want to go even deeper with the show, have one-on-one conversations with me, get free access to all of my charts and data and all that stuff. Join the Locked On Tar Heels Insiders. That link is also in the show notes. Always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow. Can't wait. But until then, peace.